Hello, wonderful people. Welcome to Buildoria Pro, your shortcut to creating pro-quality architectural procedural elements in seconds. This add-on transforms repetitive modeling into instant, reusable assets you can actually build on. With Buildoria Pro, you're commanding an entire architectural procedural toolkit. Pillars, arches, beams, walls, staircases, windows, roofs, patterns, and even instant instance creation, all just one click away. Let's dive in and see how fast we can create. All right, let's start with the basic pillar. I'll just hit Create Basic Pillar, and right away it generates a simple column. Here we have radius, sides, and height. Radius controls how thick your pillar is. Sides define how round, or if you want faces, you can have it right now in real time. And height sets how tall the column stands. Next up, we've got something a little more dynamic, the twisted pillar. I'll go ahead and click Create Twisted Pillar. Here we have a few controls to fine-tune it. Base radius sets the size at the bottom. Pillar radius defines the outer thickness of the twist. Angle controls how much rotation happens across its height. And screw adjusts the spacing between each spiral. You can also tweak iterations to repeat that twist multiple times, index to change the profile of the pipe, and increase elements to add more spiral strands for a richer look. And just like that, you can make ornamental pillars like this. And examples like this inspired me to include this type of twisted pillar option here. Now this one is something truly beautiful. The base pillar gives your column its foundation, the part that defines elegance and character. Let's click Create Base Pillar, and just look at that. It instantly forms a detailed base, and everything updates live as you tweak. Here we've got three simple controls: Profile Curve, Radius, and Sides. Profile Curve lets you choose from over 50 unique profiles, each one changing the shape as you move the slider. You can try sleek, layered, rounded. Every profile adds its own design story to the pillar. Then, of course, radius controls how wide the base spreads, and sides, how smooth or faceted you want the geometry to feel. And just like that, in seconds, you have a beautifully sculpted pillar base. This gives real architectural presence to your model. This is one of those touches that quietly elevates your entire scene. And now, we come to the pillar capital, the crown of the entire pillar system. Let's go ahead and click Create a Pillar Capital. And there it is, a beautifully structured top section, made up of multiple detailed components that fit together seamlessly to bring real authenticity and depth to your structure. This creates a collection, and among them, there's always one main part called top. This top object is the parent. Every other piece is connected to it. So whenever you want to move or adjust the entire capital, make sure you select top. PH capital is purely there to store the index of the capital. Now, right below, you have one simple control, capital index. Changing this gives you access to 6 distinct styles of pillar, from the Ionic with its elegant spirals, to the Corinthian, rich with layered leaves, and also the Greek column. These are heavy, detailed designs, so in upcoming updates, I'll be adding them to the asset browser or as a separate downloadable bundle. That way, the add-on stays light while the collection of pillar capitals keeps growing. So whether you're designing a temple, a monument, or a classical interior, this capital system is the finishing touch that makes your pillars look truly majestic. So whether you need a quick placeholder pillar or a clean finished one, it's all ready in seconds. All right. Now let's move to one of the most elegant structural forms, the arch. When I click Create Arch, it automatically generates 3 parts: the arch, the spandrel, and the arch profile. The arch index controls the shape of the arch, and its corresponding spandrel updates right along with it. They both share the same index. Then, the arch profile index defines the cross-sectional design of the arch. There are over 50 beautiful profiles already included, and when they load into the scene, you can freely rearrange, reshape, or even remodel them to suit your exact style. By the way, this feature really depends on your creativity. You can experiment with angles, scales, and profiles to discover unique variations every time. The base forms are simple, but what you build on top of them is completely your creation. With a little imagination, these arches can become elegant doorways, temple entrances, or grand interior frames. So go ahead, explore, play, and let your creativity define how your architecture comes to life. Next, let's take a look at the cornice beam system. When I click Create Cornice Beam, it creates a single beam and beam profile. Just below, we have two key controls, Beam Curve and Beam Profile. The Beam Curve slider adjusts the overall path or shape of the beam. There are 5 simple base forms to start with, and you can freely edit or reshape that curve directly in the viewport for complete control. Then comes the Beam Profile, and just like the others, you've got over 50 profiles to choose from. Each one instantly changes the beam's cross-section, and of course, you can modify them however you like. The real power here lies in flexibility. You can customize both the curve and the profile to design cornices, trims, or decorative beams exactly the way you imagine them. Alright, now we're at one of my personal favorites, the wall system. When you click Create a Wall, Buildoria spawns a smart baseline using classic castle paths. The starter shape is chosen by the wall index. Next, the add-on applies a skin modifier and a solidify modifier. Those two modifiers are what power the height and thickness sliders here, so when you change them, the wall updates cleanly and instantly. I added a Show Modifiers checkbox so you can toggle those modifiers off. When unchecked, you get the raw baseline. Don't worry, all your properties are preserved behind the scenes. And by the way, you can check the Show Modifiers once you've confirmed your base shape of the wall. Go into Edit mode and select a single vertex, just one, that's important. Then you can start creating custom forms like arc, op-arc, semicircle, or polygon. Use this. This is the spot where you unlock game-changing control. It's a must-try for anyone who wants pro results fast. By the way, this is one of those moments that excited me while building this add-on. I knew adding these features would completely change how creative we can get with our designs. For the arc tool, choose your mode, then click Create Arc. The 3 simple controls are radius, center, and segments. Radius sets the size of the curve, center defines the pivot point, and segments control the smoothness of the arc. One important thing, remember, arc and opposite arc work when your selected point is non-coincident. Semicircle and polygon work when the point is coincident. Pick accordingly. There's also a flip checkbox for semicircle and polygon. Check it to flip the curve to the other side of the baseline. Then tweak the sliders and watch it invert instantly. Move to the staircase system. This is where structure meets flow, where you can build everything from a simple set of steps to a beautifully curved staircase in seconds. When you click Create a Staircase, Buildoria automatically creates a new collection called Staircase, and inside it, you'll find all the step objects and their instances neatly organized. Now, let's go over the main controls. The step index lets you choose from 4 basic step shapes. Then you've got step scale in Y and step scale in Z, which let you fine-tune the step width and height. Y1 and Z1 define the starting position of the staircase, while Y2 and Z2 set the ending position, giving you full control over its length and rise. Next, we have first step and final step. These adjust the relative sizes of the very first and last steps. It's perfect for tapering staircases or giving a subtle finishing touch. The number of steps slider is self-explanatory. It controls how many steps you want, while the curvature value introduces smooth arcs for those elegant curved staircases you often see in royal or luxury interiors. And finally, the bend angle. This one lets the steps tilt slightly forward. creating that signature curved flow you see in princely duplexes or gallery-style homes. Try experimenting with some values to get a graceful bend. Once your base staircase is ready, click Create Spindles. That'll instantly generate the vertical spindle elements. And then create handrail to form the smooth railing along the curve. The spindle index and handrail index control their respective profiles. And by the way, the fun part is how flexible this system is. You can build grand entryways or minimal studio stairs. It really depends on your taste and creativity. Every time you adjust a slider here, you're shaping a new experience in your design. Now, let's move to the spiral staircase. When you click Create a Spiral Staircase, it generates a single object. Now, let's look at the controls. Step Index gives you 4 step shapes. Then there's Count of Steps, which simply defines how many steps you want in your spiral. Rotation controls the overall twist, how much the staircase revolves around its central axis, and height sets how tall the spiral rises. Finally, radius defines how far the staircase extends outward from the center, so you can create tight, compact spirals or wide, sweeping ones. Once you've got your ideal shape, your rotation, height, and radius all set, you can click Create Spindles. These spindles are created as independent objects, not automatically attached to the spiral. To align them perfectly, simply copy the same parameter values from your spiral staircase and paste them into the spindle controls. I kept it separate on purpose. This gives you creative freedom. In some cases, you might want the spindles to have a slightly different rhythm or height, and this system lets you do exactly that. After that, hit Create Handrail, and the system automatically builds a railing along your curve. You'll have to adjust the center and height. You'll notice a little extended section near the top. You can simply delete that extra bit to clean up the edge and match your final design perfectly. So in just a few clicks, you can go from a simple step layout to a fully curved spiral staircase that looks designed, not modeled. And by the way, The flexibility here means you can push your creativity in any direction you want. Let's move on next, because it only gets more powerful from here. All right, let's spawn a complete window in one click. Hit Create a Window and watch a Window 1 collection appear. Grid lines, outer rectangle, the PH window property holder, and the profile meshes. Everything you need to edit procedurally. Quick note, make sure PH window is selected. This is crucial. Every slider here controls that object only. If you click away, the controls stop working, so keep it active. Set width for the overall span. I usually start at 3. Height controls vertical size. Try 5 for a tall look. Num meshin is the number of panes across. More means more vertical mullions. Num vertical is the number of horizontal rails. Perfect for multi-pane styles. Pick an outer profile for the main frame and an inner profile for the sash or trim. As of now, we have 4 profiles: rectangular, triangular, semicircular, and circular. Swapping them instantly updates the look. Use outer scale X and outer scale Y to stretch the outer molding without touching geometry. Inner scale X and inner scale Y do the same for the inner trim. They basically scale the outer and inner profiles in X and Y directions. Every tweak updates live, so you can iterate in seconds. Pro tip: set width to 3, height to 5, num meshin to 5, num vertical to 3. Choose an ornate outer profile and nudge outer scale Y. Boom, a classic, usable window in moments. By the way, like this add-on saves you hours of modeling and makes your asset pipeline insanely fast. It helps you complete your project faster. I'm going to add the exact files and presets I used in my upcoming website. Hold on to that. For now, grab the add-on from the link below. It pays for itself on the first project. All right, now let's move to the custom window section. This one's powerful. When you click Create a Custom Window, it instantly builds a new collection called Window_1. Inside that, you'll see the familiar PH_window. This little guy is the brain of the system. It holds all the properties you're about to tweak, so make sure it stays selected throughout. Then we've got these: S_I_W_profile and S_O_W_profile. They stand for semicircle inner window profile and semicircle outer window profile. Below that, the W profiles are your cross-section profiles, the actual shapes that define the frame geometry. I've named them this way for a reason. It keeps things synced for future updates where I'll be automating profile linking. It's a small touch now, but it's going to pay off big later. Now let's look at the controls. You can choose an option here: semicircle window, round window, or Gothic window. Each gives a completely different architectural vibe, but uses the same smart controls below. Window shape just defines that overall shape. Nothing fancy, just instant geometry. Outer profile and inner profile pick the cross-section style for your outer and inner frames. And below, the outer scale X and Y and inner scale X and Y sliders stretch or shrink those profiles live. Super easy to get the exact proportion you want. And the same goes for round window and Gothic window. Select them from the list and tweak the values as you desire. And the best part? You're not manually modeling anything. You're designing in seconds. That's the kind of speed studios pay for. Now you can have it in one click. All right, now let's move into one of my favorite parts, the roof creator. Right here, we can generate fully procedural domes in literally seconds. When I click Create a Spherical Dome, it instantly builds a collection called Roof 1. Inside that, you'll find PH Dome. That's the controller, the main property holder that stores all these parameters. S Dome, your main dome mesh. S_ribs, the supporting ribs that give the structure its strength and style. And S_ribs_profile, the profile shape defining the rib cross-section. So yeah, everything is neatly organized, clean, and ready for procedural edits. All driven by PH Dome, so keep that selected while working. Now, coming to the controls. Radius controls the overall size of the dome. Segments define how smooth the dome surface is. More segments mean finer detail. Rings control the number of horizontal divisions, shaping the curvature. And the ribs profile index lets you pick different rib designs for quick architectural variety. Every change updates in real time, so you can experiment freely. And options are infinite once you start combining one element with another. So if you're serious about taking your architectural scenes from concept to presentation faster than ever, this add-on alone is going to make it worth it. Okay, quick one. Create a spire. Hit this button and you get a new collection called Spire 1. Inside is PH Spire, the property holder, and your S-cone mesh. Super tidy, super procedural. Important. Keep PH_spire selected while you tweak. All sliders talk to that object only. If you click away, nothing will change. So keep it selected, keep it active, keep it locked in. Now the controls. Fast and simple. Height. How tall the spire is. Slide it up for drama, down for subtlety. Lower radius. The base radius. How wide it sits on the roof. Big base means stable, small base means elegant. Upper radius. The tip radius. Tiny values sharpen the peak. Larger values make it blunt or column-like. Segments. How smooth the cone is. More segments give you a smoother silhouette. Fewer give you a faceted, stylized look. So you can go from blocky to silky in seconds, just like that. Change height, nudge the radii, tweak segments, and the spire updates live. This single spire tool saves you the same amount of time you'd spend modeling one nail-biting detail, every single time. Buy it once, and your future scenes suddenly take less time, look better, and ship faster. That's real, immediate ROI. Not tomorrow, right now. Say it again. Faster scenes, better visuals, less grind. That's what this is for. All right, that's the spire. Fast to make, easy to style, and honestly, kind of fun to play with. Now let's check out the roof creator. Here we've got a few clean sliders that give you full control over the roof's proportions. Bottom width defines how wide the base of the roof is. Top width sets the narrowness at the top. Smaller values give that sharp, elegant taper. Top length controls how far the top face stretches. Bottom length does the same for the base. Make it broader or compact depending on your design. And finally, height. This decides how tall or steep your roof rises. It's simple, direct, and does exactly what you need. Adjust a few numbers, and your perfect roof is already done. Before we create a pattern, just one important step. Go into edit mode and select the edges where you want the pattern to appear. Now I'll click Create a Pattern, and you'll see a new collection appear called Pattern. Inside it, we have 3 elements. The path curve, which is the path the design will follow. It got created as separate object from edges we selected and the pattern itself. And an empty PH pattern, which holds all the properties like index and rotation. Let's look at the controls. The index slider lets you pick from multiple stylish pattern designs. Each one brings its own visual personality. Length controls how far the pattern stretches along the selected edge. Gap decides the spacing between each repeated piece, so you can go from tightly packed to clean and spaced out instantly. And down here we've got rotation controls, X, Y, and Z rotation, so you can perfectly align the pattern with your scene from any angle. Then X scale, Y scale, and Z scale give you full freedom to resize the pattern in any direction without losing the style or structure. Patterns instantly add style and richness to your architecture. They make the whole design pop. And this add-on helps you do that effortlessly in just a few clicks. I'll also be adding many more pattern designs in future updates, so your options will only keep growing. And now, we reach a feature I'm genuinely excited about, the instance system. This is where Buildoria unlocks huge creative power with just a few clicks. We start with Create Instance Path. This gives you preset architectural paths, perfect for castle layouts, fortress defenses, or any repeating structures. Once a path is created, you can use Path Index to switch through different built-in path presets. And then number of points decides how many placement points you want on each edge of that path. After choosing how many points you want, we click Create Points for Instances. Those points are where your instances will be placed. Next, to populate the scene, select the Points for Instances object, then select any object from the collection you want to use. You don't have to pick the collection directly. The add-on will automatically detect and instance the entire collection. Now click Create Collection Instances, and suddenly, the whole collection appears perfectly placed across all those points. And then we have Create Variable Instances. Same workflow, but with a huge difference. This time, each instance shares the same data, but you can still transform them individually. So if you want one tree taller, one building rotated, one statue scaled up, you just select and modify it directly. This add-on opens the door to infinite possibilities. We're just scratching the surface here. As this add-on keeps evolving, the goal is simple: to help you build realistic environments. Buildoria Pro also comes with a dedicated asset library. Inside the asset browser, you'll find a folder called Buildoria Pro, which already includes around 15 versatile procedural materials you can reuse across any project. And yes, this library will keep growing with future updates. We also have a collection of beautifully crafted ornaments, acanthus leaves, detailed corbels, floral ornaments, even vine elements. Each of these parts is fully editable, not just static meshes. For example, the acanthus leaves come with deformers, so you can bend and reshape them to suit any decorative style. The flowers are built as arrays of petals and layered pieces, meaning you can customize them. We've got 2 helpful tools ready to go. Circular Instance Node. Give it a collection, and it will instantly arrange those objects in a perfect circular pattern. Works great for arenas, fort entrances, towers, anywhere that repeated architecture needs that clean circular layout. Wall Node. Similar to the wall tool above, but this one is built to follow curves and terrain. Perfect for fortresses, mountain edges, or any boundary that has curves. And since all of this is part of your toolkit now, you can expect more assets, more ornaments, and more powerful nodes as this add-on continues to evolve. And that's Buildoria Pro in action, a tool designed to make architectural modeling faster, smarter, and so much more creative. If you want to build castles, palaces, and beautiful environments, this add-on is the way. So go ahead and grab Buildoria Pro right now from my Gumroad page, so it's the perfect time to jump in and start creating. Follow the channel, stay connected. There's so much more coming, more assets, more tools, more beauty.